Good morning, everybody. Live from East Greenbush, New York. It's TGI Sports Talk with Keith Engel. It's not Friday, but thank God it's sports. We got a lot to cover today. I want to thank my guests, and I'll do that again numerous times as I tend to do. I want to thank my guest from Friday's show, Ron Bloomberg. What a great interview. Ron's a great guy. You know, pick up his book, Designated Hebrew. Great read. He'll have a new book out in March, The Captain and Me, which is detailing his escapades with Thurman Munson, his best friend on the Yankees when they played. And you Yankee fans certainly don't need to be told about Thurman Munson. So what I will say is that we got a lot to cover today. I do want to talk a little bit about the Major League Baseball playoff picture, the college football recap, and a lot of exciting stuff yesterday. Some big upsets, some wild finishes, and some big comebacks. And we got a lot to cover there. And we'll do we'll cover some stuff in the NFL, so kind of see where we're at. Some of the stories from last week, some big injuries, and then we'll do the picks for today. And if anybody wants to call, certainly I hope you'll feel free to do so. The number, as always, is 518-308. Just lost my number, 8225. I'll put that back up in a bit. But feel free to call in if you have any takes of your own, if you get some opinions on things I don't talk about today or opinions about things I do talk about. Feel free to call. And if you want to jump in and do some picks with me later on, you can feel free to do that as well. So let's dive into it a little bit. The college football recap, the big stories of the week, before the games yesterday is the Pac-12, the WAC, the MAC. They're all coming back. I guess it was only a matter of time before the dominoes fell. Once the Big Ten caved and decided to start playing in October, the Pac-12, I think all these teams are going to start the first week in November, which they're going to play short seasons, I think, between 7 and 8 games, each one of them. Somebody could be as low as 6 games, which raises, the questions. It's going to be hard for the pollsters, to do the rankings. And when you get to the playoff rankings, it's going to be hard for them to decide. It's going to be the eye test. You can't compare records. Some teams are going to have played 11 games. Some teams are going to have played 6 games. And these 3 conferences we just talked about, they don't have any margin for error. At least the teams that started, not now. The SEC's finally got their season started yesterday in full force, and there's some margin for error if you have games postponed. Notre Dame is postponed this week. Tulsa's game with Arkansas State was postponed. South Florida and Florida Atlantic postponed. Houston's game is postponed. There's room to make up all of those games. But getting started the first week in November, it's going to be very hard if they have a postponement or more. It's going to be very hard for them to get those games in time to be considered for the playoff, I think. So anyway, that's the big story off the field this top week. Yesterday, some of the top stories: Mike Leach, first game with Mississippi State against the reigning national championship LSU Tigers, champions and LSU Tigers, and they won the game outright. They were a 16-point dog. It was my game of the day. I picked them. I had a few shillings on that game yesterday. If you saw my quick promo yesterday, also had Pittsburgh yesterday, which was a push. But again, great game. Mike Leach's offense is amazing. KJ Costello, Stanford transfer, threw for well over 600 yards. Only 5 touchdowns and 600 yards. That's kind of amazing. when you look at it. But, just a great debut for Mike Leach. He's an interesting character. He's different than most of your college coaches, and he runs a different type of offense. And it's a lot of fun to watch. And his teams are usually pretty good. And he's good at about turning programs around. So very exciting to see that yesterday. I watched that game. The Miami Hurricanes. Go Canes. Go Canes. I got my fingers together like I'm supposed to today. My wife will be happy to see that. But the Canes routed their arch rival Florida State yesterday. 52-10, I think, was the final. Great game for the Canes. The Canes look great so far. They're ranked 12th in the country. Of course, we got to look at who they played, but they're playing great football. Their offense is much, much different than it's been, and it's exciting to watch. It's quick, it's fast paced. The tempo is amazing, and De'Aaron King is amazing. He's just a really good quarterback. The transfer from Houston. So they're exciting to watch, and the defense is also dynamic as it's been in the past. So let's, and you also had, let me move on to some other stories. Kansas State, 29-point underdog at Oklahoma. Barely could field enough guys to, I want to put the number up here if you guys want to call in. So here we go. Kent State, 29-point favorite dogs at Oklahoma State. Barely enough players to play the game. They were close to forfeiting. They come from 21 points down and beat Oklahoma, ranked number 3. Second year in a row they beat Oklahoma. And it's just amazing. It's the thing about college football. It's exciting every week. It's great to see them back in, somewhat full force, especially with the SEC jumping in. Now the Big 12's in full flight. So another great story there. Texas rallies. After having a tough time with Texas Tech all day, it looked like they were going to let their fans down. Fans who think Texas is finally back. They have a big rally, and Sam Ehlinger gets them the victory in overtime, 63-56, I think. Some amazing scores yesterday. By the way, that wasn't just an overtime-driven score. It was 56-56 at the end of regulation. Not a lot of defense being played in the Big 12. That's for sure. Mac Jones, quarterback for Alabama, kind of solidifies his spot as being the leader of Alabama as Alabama rolled yesterday. And those are kind of the big stories of the day. I mean, as far as the top 25 scores, we'll take a quick look through the scoreboard. See if anything stands out. Any games, if your favorite team's played and you're happy or sad, give me a call or make a comment in the room. See if we got any comments here. Rick Sherlock. Oops, there you are. Georgia did have a terrible first half. Changed their quarterbacks, may have found their quarterback, it looks like, and they ended up winning the game big yesterday. I was going to touch on that as we went through the scoreboard here. But great take there, Rick. Georgia's got a good team. And we'll see what they do as we go forward. So let's take a quick look through the top 25, shall we? Alabama, as we said, rolled it really. Not really rolled, but, they won on the road 38-19, whole hum game for them. Mac Jones, as I said, played very, very well. We talked about Kansas State rolling over, not rolling over, but coming back big from a 21-point deficit. And being huge underdogs on the road, barely able to field a team. They beat Oklahoma, number 3. We just talked about Georgia. They may have found their quarterback in Stetson Bennett. We'll see. Georgia's one of those teams that perennially is very good, and then they kind of disappoint near the end of the season. Kirby Smart's a great coach. I think they give Alabama a run in the SEC this year. I'm excited about Mike Leach's Mississippi State team, though. We're going to see. LSU lost a lot of guys, right? So that may not be their the measuring stick yet for Mississippi State. That's going to be tough. They got a tough schedule. So Florida really played well. Probably wasn't as close as the score against Ole Miss. They won by 16. But Ole Miss is exciting with Lane Kiffin there now. They had an exciting offense, but their defense is just atrocious. Auburn surprisingly easy victory over Kentucky yesterday. Kansas, we talked about. Texas A&M squeaks by Vanderbilt, 10th in the country. Texas A&M still not sold on them. Every year that, this is going to be the year that Jumbo Fisher gets them over the hump, and hasn't happened yet, obviously. As I talked about, the U rolls over Florida State 52-10, and to be honest with you, that game wasn't that close. I think they could have won that game by 60. They're exciting. Their offense is exciting. The defense is dynamic, and they got a huge test. They got a bye week, and we're going to find out how good Miami is. They got Clemson following their bye week. It's going to be very interesting to see. UCF somehow continues to do it, even with a bunch of guys opted out due to the COVID-19 situation. UCF continues to win 51-28. Cincinnati Army was an interesting matchup, and I thought Army gave them a better game yesterday, but Cincinnati ended up winning the game 24-10. Oklahoma State played much better than they played the last time out, won 27-10 against a decent West Virginia team. Tennessee is coming back, this year to a higher echelon. They're ranked in the top 25. They're actually 16th in the country at the moment, and they squeaked by South Carolina. Not a great South Carolina team, so we'll see what happens there. BYU, in their first outing since Labor Day, rolled over Troy. Louisiana squeaks by Georgia Southern. Louisiana is one of those outside the Power 5 conferences. They're always a trendy pick to potentially crash a playoff party, but I don't think they're going to really have the resume to do that. Number 24, Virginia Tech rolled over North Carolina State. A lot of people like North Carolina State to kind of rebound this year and maybe even win this game outright, but they did not. Louisville and Pittsburgh squeaks by them. It was kind of a dull game. As I said, I had a couple shillings on that game, got a push, but kind of a dull game. And Notre Dame got postponed due to COVID outbreak. It affected both them and the South Florida team that they played last week. So they both had to postpone their games. So that kind of covers the top 25. I don't know if there was any games outside the top 25 that were all that interesting. Rolling through the scores here. See, I thought there was a couple games that stood out to me. TCU and Iowa State, great game, a shootout as usual, 37-34 Iowa State. TCU has kind of hit the skids a little bit after Gary Patterson doing a great job there for a lot of years and being in the hunt for the playoff, several times in the last 10 years. They've kind of hit not the skids. I mean, they're still a good team, but they just, they're not the team they were the last few years. Virginia rolls over Duke. Virginia's a sleeper in the ACC. Brennan Mendenhall's a great coach. Boston College, which a lot of people like. My buddy Mark loves Boston College this year. They squeaked by Texas State 24-21. I think they're going to have to play better than that if they're going to compete in the ACC. With the likes of Clemson and Miami now, Virginia. And we'll see how that shakes out. Baylor rolls 47-14. Baylor with a new head coach. He wins his debut game. Matt Rule obviously jumped to the Panthers this year. So, good start for Baylor over the Mad Hatter at Kansas. Les Miles, his first couple games in Kansas have been nothing to write home about, unfortunately. So that kind of covers the college landscape for now. I mean, going forward, we'll start to see how things shake out the next couple of weeks as the SEC gets a couple of weeks under their belt. The ACC continues to be the league that's got the most games played. And, we'll see what the top 25 looks like tomorrow. I think there'll be some changes, obviously, with Oklahoma losing. I think Miami may move up. It's going to be interesting, that Miami Clemson game. I'm excited for that game in a couple of weeks, but got to be careful what you wish for sometimes, right? But again, COVID still affects the college landscape a little bit, but they find a way to deal with it safely so far. Some fans at some games. Sorry about that, guys. I find it interesting, 25% capacity at some of these games, maybe a little bit more in some others, a little bit less in some others. But then I find these huge clusters of people, and it just, I'm not sure what that's all about. You see them all spread out, and then you'll see a huge cluster of, 75 people. So hopefully this doesn't cause problems down the road. I mean, so far they've dealt with it. We've had postponements each week, but these teams that started early will have a chance to make those games up, theoretically. The teams that are starting late, as I mentioned, the Pac-10, the WAC, and the MAC, it's going to be tough, boy. If they get some outbreaks and have some postponements, they're starting late enough. They're starting in November. It's going to be hard for them to fit those postponements in. So that's kind of the look at the college scene today. Let's move on to Major League Baseball, and then we'll jump into the NFL, which is probably what everybody's excited about here today as we move into week 3, and we're starting to see, how things are going to hash out here a little bit this year. There's some surprises, some not surprises, some big injuries. But let's look at the Major League Baseball. I'm only going to touch on this quickly, unless somebody really has some opinions. I've got some very strong opinions, again, about the Yankees. Last week, I had complimented them after my rant of a few weeks before about what was wrong with them. They're right back kind of where they were. Yeah, they played well yesterday, but they still got the big problems. I mean, they could finish anywhere from they can only finish 5th or 8th. And no matter what they do, they're playing 3 games on the road in this wild card round at either Cleveland. I think either Cleveland or the White Sox. White Sox aren't playing very well right now, but still, 3 games at home, big advantage. And in fact, the Yankees can't play at home the rest of the season after today. It's over. You got to play. You've got to make a run to the World Series championship on the road if you're the Yankees. Not a game at home, because, again, once you move past these wild card games starting Tuesday, they're going to play in neutral fields, so nobody will be playing at home. Right now, the matchups would be the Rays against the Blue Jays. That's 8. The Blue Jays are 8, Rays are 1. Indians 7 against the Twins, number 2. Astros 6 against the A's, number 3. And the Yankees 5 versus the White Sox 4. Now, those positions can change. I mean, there's a lot of maneuvering. The 8 spots are wrapped up in the AL, I believe, and all you've got is jockeying between the seeding, which, I mean, teams can jump up and down a lot. Like I said, the White Sox can go anywhere from 2 to 7. The Yankees can go 2 or 5 or 8. So there's some jockeying to be done. The Yankees are going to have a tough road. Tampa Bay is playing really good baseball, and we'll talk. Maybe I may do a show here this week and talk a little bit more about Major League Baseball in depth. I'm not sure. Looking into the National League, I believe 4 teams have clinched. The Dodgers, Atlanta, Chicago, and San Diego have clinched the 1 through 4 spots in the order that I just gave them. There's also 4 teams jockeying for a couple of spots. I shouldn't say that. What do we got here? A couple other teams have wrapped it up. I believe, San Francisco and Philadelphia have not wrapped anything up. Milwaukee's not in for sure, but Cincinnati's in, St. Louis is in. So we got 4 teams playing for 2 spots, really. Anything could happen. I will tell you this: Miami's wrapped up a playoff spot for the first time since 2003. And again, this is an aberration of a season, 60 games. how much credence can we put in it? But I will tell you this: aberration of a season or not, Donnie Mattingly is the Major League Baseball Manager of the Year for the job he's done with that team this year. They're devoid of real Major League Baseball talent, and then what they have is a bunch of kids and some veterans and role players, and they play fun baseball. The things that I say are wrong with the Yankees, the Marlins do right. They move base runners around. They don't wait for 3-run home runs. They're hit and run. It's just awesome what they do with, to win games. They manufacture runs, and that's what I keep talking about the Yankees. The Yankees are in trouble, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this today because we're going to jump into the NFL after this. But, the Yankees have got, they could get hot, start hitting home runs, but, you run into Cleveland, let's say. You're going to go to Cleveland for 3 games against that pitching staff. You think they're going to score 8, 9 runs a game? It's not going to happen. I won't go into the litany of issues that they have, but again, they don't manufacture runs, although they did it a couple of situations yesterday, which was fun to see, and maybe we'll change that mindset as we head into the playoffs, I hope. There's only a certain number of guys that are capable of playing that situational baseball, as I've talked about. But if they get hit hot and hit some home runs, maybe, who knows? But after Cole, the pitching is very inconsistent. Tanaka had a tough outing out last time. Cole gives up 3 runs in the first inning his last time, or not Cole, AJ Happ gives up 3 runs in the first inning his last time out. I mean, I've got more confidence in Davy Garcia than I do in than either the veterans, Paxton or Happ. So it's going to be very interesting how they line up their rotation after Cole. And again, I think you're going to see less of Gary Sanchez than you might think behind the plate in the playoffs. Cole prefers to pitch to Kiyagawa. And Kratz is going to get some time too. He's played well with the kids. He's caught, he's also their designated mop-up pitcher when they're getting blown out of games. But he's got quite a knuckleball. But we're going to see. It's going to be interesting to see how much I play Gary Sanchez behind the plate. He's had a tough road, man. I don't want to go into his problems. Maybe I'll dedicate a whole show, as I promised Rado. I'd let him debate the merits of Sanchez and whether Sanchez should be the catcher of this team going forward. I haven't seen Rado in a couple of weeks, so I'm hoping he still wants to come on and do that sometime in the future. Maybe we'll have a show dedicated just to that. We'll do it during the week. But, he's got a new problem now with catcher's interference. For either we can't catch the ball, or we're striking out right and left. Forget about his offense for a second. His defense, oh, God, he's getting plate umpires, put him in mortal danger, as I've said in the past. And now he's got catcher's interference, which he's had, you don't see called on a team twice all year. He's had it 3 times in the last 4 games. So annoying. Anyway, that's where we're at with baseball. It's going to be an exciting, I will say, 60-game season. Major League Baseball is probably excited that there's there's going to be great interest in a lot of cities today, because if it's American League, we're talking about seeding, which is very important. It's going to decide home field advantage for some teams in the first round. And also who they're going to match up with. And in the National League, you've got teams that, it's do or die today. There's teams that are alive that won't be playing come Tuesday. So it's an exciting wrap up to this aberration of a season, as I keep calling it. It's the nicest thing I can use. There's some words I'd like to use, but wouldn't be terribly politically correct. And also, it's award season, and we're talking about awards. I really don't care. And this season, with the asterisk that we have, Cy Young Awards, MVPs, they just don't mean a lot to me right now, because we have not played even anything resembling a full season. So let's just play it out, get a champion. I'll give Yankees win. I don't care who wins. I mean, they're going to be recognized as the champion. I don't really need to give them an asterisk necessarily, because you did win under the same circumstances everybody else did. You're not playing the teams that won championships before, so it really doesn't matter. But the individual awards, to me, just don't even do them this year. I'm just not interested. And there's some great guys having great seasons out there. The Machine, DJ LeMahieu, great player, man. He makes the Yankees go. Need more DJ LeMahieu's. Abreu's having a great season in the American League. Luke Volt's having a great season. But, the individual numbers don't mean that much to me. Just because of the watered-down spring training, the fact that the season started in July and some guys were rusty and the season's short. You often see guys having great years up till the All-Star break or whatever, and then they fade. And then their numbers don't look so great. They're still good at the end of the year, but they're not looking great. So that's kind of where we're at now. We get a season that's stopping at the All-Star break, actually even before that. So the individual awards, I'm just really not that interested in getting into. So let's jump into the NFL. 25 minutes past the hour here. We're going to go to 10 o'clock or a little longer if we get some conversation going on in the NFL. Again, beautiful day here in the Northeast, by the way. So I'm sure more people are going to see this show later than live. So I would hope we get a phone call. I'd love to have some phone calls as we go through the NFL recap here, where we've been so far this year, and also a little bit about our picks this week, which are very important. Anyway, the NFL. Week 2. Big injuries, right? Bosa goes out for San Diego. Barkley goes out for the Giants. Jimmy G gets hurt for San Francisco. They were banged up bad. Both are. We'll touch on the injuries that affect just today's games, but those could affect this quite a ways through. And just looking at the room, by the way, good morning, Rick. I think I said good morning to you earlier. Good morning, Joe Altieri. I should have Joe Altieri call in and do his picks. I'd like to get his strategy on doing NFL picks. So when we get to the pick section, maybe Joe will call me. What else has been going on? I mean, Tom Brady bounced back last week. Tampa Bay bounced back with a fairly convincing victory. I think they'll be fine. Tommy's going to get in sync with his receivers. Surprisingly, Gronk's pretty much a non-factor. Bruce Arians spoke to that this week and says, "Look, we're not looking to get a number of balls to anybody. We're looking to move the ball down the field and hit the open man." And that's what Tom Brady's done his whole career. And it's not about forcing the ball to Gronk, but Gronk's a good run blocker too. So it's not like he's not having a positive effect there. But as I had talked to some people about, I just did not think he was going to be a factor in the passing game. I wasn't sure how well he'd play or maybe how well he'll hold up after being out a year and with a number of back injuries he's had and surgeries through the years, as well as other, broken arms, broken legs. We'll see. The big story last week, I think, was Russell Wilson just going off against the Patriots. A great game in Seattle last Sunday night. I had said here on this show, I think it was a test to see where the Patriots are. And to be honest with you, coming out a loser in that game, I'm impressed with how the Patriots played. I'm impressed with how Cam Newton, I'll get to Russell Wilson in a second. He's amazing. Very impressed with Cam and how Cam played, not just his numbers at the end of the game. The numbers can be misleading in today's game. You look at quarterback ratings and the way the offenses are designed and the defenses are handicapped. Middle of the road quarterbacks have great passer ratings and such, but Cam played a great game last week. He's a dual threat. If he doesn't get hurt, I think they'll be fine. What really impressed me though, and watching into the game with my wife, I was like, this is where we find out. They're down 10 points, 4.5 minutes left or so. We're going to find out. This is where I never thought I'm out of a game with Tom Brady. Still got a great shot at this game. We'll find out if Cam has it. Well, you know what? They came down. They scored a touchdown. They got the ball back. They took the ball down the field again. And they were in a position to win the game on the last play of the game. A lot of people got a problem with the call. I don't. Seattle couldn't stop it the entire game. They found a way to stop it there. But you can't ask for more than that. You're going to one of the toughest places to play in the league, fans or no fans, and they're in position to win the game. So I'm happy with where the Patriots are. Let's see how they bounce back today on playing against a surprising Raiders team. I almost said Oakland Raiders. It's the Las Vegas Raiders. We'll see how they bounce back today, and I think they will bounce back in a good way. But Russell Wilson in that game was amazing. 6 touchdowns against a really good Patriot defense. Not a lot of big names, but their secondary is still really good with the McCourty brothers and some others. So they've always got serviceable players, and they're always loaded with defensive backs and linebackers. And Winovich is really good on defense. Their defensive line is really good. Patriots defense is going to be fine. And Russell Wilson torched them last week, and he has just, I don't know. Him and Patrick Mahomes are 1 and 1A right now in the league. I'm a huge Patrick Mahomes fan. Always pump him up, especially on this show. And he's still a great player. He led them to a great comeback last week. Very surprisingly that they struggled the way that they did against San Diego. But Wilson and Mahomes are the two best players in the league by far. Some others. Interesting points from last week. The Packers rolled. The Packers are looking very good. Got some injuries today, but the Packers are looking really good after 2 games. An impressive win against the Vikings, and then last week's dismantling of the Lions. Aaron Rodgers is playing like Aaron Rodgers, and the weapons around him seem good enough. He was upset. We've talked about it here about the draft and not getting him more help for now, and really kind of drafting his replacement. But anyway, played great. The Bills come back against Miami. Very impressive. The fact that not the fact that they struggled with Miami, but the fact that on the road they had the resilience to come back. Josh Allen's playing great football right now. He's not on the Russell Wilson, Patrick Mahomes level, but he's very, very, he's playing very good football. So what else? The Jets are a bust again. I mean, they didn't even show up against the 49ers. The game, I don't know, 49ers won by 20. It wasn't even that close. The Rams looked good, winning at the Eagles, who were in disarray. I'm a little surprised at the Eagles, and I'm surprised at the Rams from 2 different ends of the spectrum. But the Rams are very well coached, as are the Eagles. We got a really good game this week, and we'll talk about it here in the pick segment coming up. But the Bills and Rams are going to be a really good game. I'm impressed with the Rams so far, and the Bears at 2-0. They beat the Lions but they were dead against the Lions, and they came back and won that game, which was fairly impressive. Beat the Giants last week in less than impressive fashion, but you know what? They're 2-0, and as excuse my French here, a big fat bastard of a coach that I will not name here that used to coach my team, and he's a great coach, but just not a good guy in my mind. He always said, "You are what your record says you are." How good is your team? They would always ask him, your team's this. Well, you know what? We're 2-6. Are we better than that? No. We're what we are, what our record says we are. So the Bears are 2-0. So those are my, takes from week 2. The injuries are going to be a big deal. There's even a few more. I mean, we're going to take a look right now, real quick, at some of the other things that are going to affect this week's games before we jump into the picks. Injuries. Lost my injuries. There we go. So some big injuries as we head in today's game. Some of these guys are game time decisions. Some people are out. Julio Jones for the Falcons, who are always a disappointment to me. I can never be on them the right way, and they blew a game last week against the Cowboys. They had to win, and they blow it. Julio Jones didn't play well, and he's hurt, and they're also without a key cornerback of theirs, A.J. Terrell, today. George Kittle. We talked about the 49ers problems. The 49ers problems are really huge. I mean, Kittle's week to week, probably not going to play this week against the Giants. I think that's probably a no-brainer that he's not going to play. Jimmy Garoppolo's not playing. Mullen will start at quarterback. And their two primary running backs, Mostert, I can never say his name. There's certain guys I just have problems with their names, so I apologize when I butcher them. And Tevin Coleman are both out today, so they're really banged up. And who knows? I mean, they're fortunate they're playing a fairly weak Giant team who's again had one Barkley going out, and they're also depleted at wide receiver as well. Some other injuries. The Raiders have got a few guys out. Darren Walker, Josh Jacobs as they head to New England. Also one of their rookie wide receivers, which they have a ton of. Henry Ruggs is out. Any other big injuries? Oh, Devontae Adams, doubtful today for the Packers. Tonight for the Packers against New Orleans. Big game for the Packers in New Orleans. I think we get to see how good they really are. I like that when teams have these games where we get to find out how good they really are. Talked about it with the Patriots. I think I found out how good that team is, even in a loss. And we'll find out a lot about the Packers tonight, but they're going to do it without Devontae Adams, which is huge. And on the other side of the football, Drew Brees is still going to be without Michael Thomas. You saw how it affected him last week against the Raiders, so not a good situation for either team there. So maybe it cancels each other out. Don't know. No big injuries there. Just looking for some other big injuries. People out. Duke Johnson out for the Texans. Will Fuller is not completely healthy for the Texans either, but may play this week. Juju Smith-Schuster for the Steelers he missed 2 full days of practice this week. I think he had a full day on Friday, a full session on Friday. So they're hopeful that he's going to be near 100% today, or at least part of himself. The winless Jets, look at Le'Veon Bell out, Jamison Crowder out, Perryman out. Braxton Berrios is questionable. He played well last week, actually. Kid from Miami, the U. Patriots drafted him. I really had great hopes for him, and they ended up cutting him. And he had to go to the Jets, of all people, where his career will die. Alshon Jeffrey is out today. Tyrod Taylor's out indefinitely for San Diego. If you didn't hear that story last week, it's a really bizarre story. He's had a rib cage injury, and as I turned the game on at 4:25, he's not starting. And Justin Herbert was starting the game. Nobody had a clue. Everybody was surprised. The announcers were surprised. And it turns out that the doctor giving him a shot of cortisone, probably for his rib cage injury, punctured his lung during that process. And Tyrod Taylor could not play, and he's out indefinitely now. That poor guy can't catch a break. But they're probably better off getting to see. Herbert played well, really well against the Chiefs. I was really impressed with what he did. And, now Tyrod Taylor might get Wally pipped and never get back in the lineup. Who knows? Sammy Watkins may be out today, and he may be back. As far as the Patriots, my Patriots, we got a little problem with Julian Edelman, who's seemed to be bagged up every year now. He's got a knee issue. N'Keal Harry, who didn't play too badly last week against Seattle, he needs to step it up for the Patriots. So he's a really huge part of what they need to go right going forward. He's got an ankle problem, and they're both questionable to play today against the Raiders. James White will miss the game again today, as he did last week. As I don't know if you pay attention to the NFL or the Patriots, you know his father died tragically in a car accident just hours before Sunday's game, and he's going to miss this week's game as well. But our thoughts go out to him, and his mother's still in critical condition, so hopefully he'll be okay. Looks like Rex Burkhead will be the primary running back there today. So that's kind of where we're at. We're at 9:40. We're going to get to the picks. Joe Altieri or Rick Sherlock or anybody else who might be listening, if you want to call in, the number is 518-308-8225. I'll give my picks. You want to challenge, you're more than welcome to do it. I got to get Joe Altieri to do his picks one day. You had a challenge, Joe, just in case you didn't see it, from some of your Wake Up to the Vibe tribe, to do the picks with me one week, and then obviously explain your strategy. So I hope we can do that one week if it's not today. But the number's on the screen. Feel free to call. All right, let's dive in. Let's start. Last week, by the way, 9-7 against the spread. Not too bad. One game improvement over the week before. I was 8-7-1. So for the season, 17-14-1. I'll take that. And my money was in the right places last Sunday. That's a good thing too. So diving into this week's games in no particular order, I will tell you, Thursday night, I was on Miami. Jacksonville was a 3-point favorite. I think Jacksonville might be the worst team in the league, to be honest with you. I was on the Dolphins +3. They won the game outright. So we got a winner there right out of the gate. Our first game kind of look at Rams versus the Bills. As I said earlier, this is a very intriguing game. Two teams that are 2-0. The game's at Buffalo. I don't like, as you know, West Coast teams traveling east to play 1 o'clock games, but that's bit me in the rear end a couple of times this year already. This is going to be an exciting game. The Rams have played good defense. The Bills have got a really good defense. The Bills obviously have a really good offense, starting with Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs, wide receiver, who had a huge game last week. And both of them have great numbers through 2 games. But the Rams and Sean McVay, their coach, seem to have their mojo back on offense a little bit. It's very important. I mean, Jared Goff is a really good quarterback, but again, he's not an elite quarterback. He's not anywhere near the Pat Mahomes and Russell Wilsons of the world. But when the Rams were really rolling before last year, Sean McVay would put Jared Goff in great situations to be successful. Didn't ask him to win games, just asked him to make the plays and not make mistakes. And that's what they're doing right now. So this game, the Bills are a 2-point favorite, and it feels very, very close. I mean, you get 3 points as a rule, rule of thumb for being home. This is really a pick-em game. I'm going to go out on a limb. I'm not a big Bills. I hate to take the Bills because of their fans, but I'm going to take the Bills -2 against the Rams. I just don't like those teams traveling to the East Coast from the West Coast and playing those 1 o'clock games. It's kind of a formula that I stay with. 1 o'clock, Raiders at the Patriots. Got to go to Amsterdam and watch this game because I don't get it on local TV. So I'll be poolside with the Mathesons My wife and I might have a couple of adult beverages as I have my chauffeur home later. But it's again, this is an intriguing game of the Patriots, who I said played very well last week in a defeat at a very tough spot, and the surprisingly 2-0 Raiders, who beat the Saints last week at home, albeit without their top threat at wide receiver. And when you lose your top threat, obviously quarterbacks like Drew Brees can struggle. This game is a 6-point spread for the Patriots. They're the favorites in this game. I'm not sold on the Raiders just yet. And again, it's another one of those teams that are coming from the Pacific Standard Time to the East Coast to play a 1:00 game. They're going to struggle, and you're going to find out I'm probably not going to pick against my Pats all year. Pats -6. Green Bay at New Orleans, another intriguing game. The Saints are 1-1 with a tough loss last week at Las Vegas. That's so weird. I'm sorry. I cannot get used to that. I swear to God. But the Packers are 2-0 and have been rolling. I mean, they haven't even been close. Very impressive win against the Rick Sherlock's Vikings in week 1. And they just rolled over the Lions last week. Aaron Rodgers and Aaron Jones, have been very, very productive for the Packers, but they're without Devontae Adams today, which could be a huge problem. I still believe Breeze and Kamara are the running back are capable of more than they've shown so far. And I think, the Saints are a 3-point favorite here. I'm not sure. The top targets for each quarterback is out. Not sure about the Saints. Drew Brees has just not looked like Drew Brees. And remember, he's 40 years old, 41 years old, not sure. You're not going to be the same player you were. You need the weapons around you. Tom Brady shows that from time to time. I'm going to take the points. I'm going to take the Packers on the road, plus 3 points in New Orleans. Tough place to play, but I like them. Another really intriguing game. There's some great games this week. Cowboys at the Seahawks, 4:25 today. I believe that's a national game. Can't wait to watch that game. The Seahawks are a 4.5-point favorite. The Cowboys are 1-0. The Seahawks are 2-0. With an impressive victory against the Patriots last week, as we talked about. And the Cowboys are fortunate not to be 0-2, as they just got by with a miracle comeback against Atlanta last week. They were behind 29-10 in that game, and some crazy stuff happened at the end of the game if you didn't watch it. Somebody actually recovered an onside kick, which never happens anymore in the NFL. But that game's a 4.5-point game. Dallas just disappoints me all the time. I'm going to go with Seattle minus the 4.5 here. And it's not one that I'm really strongly in favor of. I don't know where my shillings will be today. The games we've talked about so far, it's possible it'll be on the Patriots, although I do not like to do that. Could be on the Bills as well. Kansas City at Baltimore. Another big game on ESPN tonight, 8:15. The Ravens are 3.5. Matchup of two great quarterbacks, Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, both teams 2-0. Kansas City struggled last week, but San Diego's, not that bad. Their defense is really good, and Mahomes finds a way to win games. The Ravens' defenses were good, and their running game is amazing, and Jackson can throw the ball, is throwing the ball better and better all the time. I just think it's, I just think this game is a toss-up, and it can go either way. But I got to say, Mahomes is never out of a game. They can be down, 28-3 at halftime, and they're not done. I don't remember that score. Oh, yeah. Falcons, Patriots, Super Bowl. Look it up. Great game. I'm going with Kansas City here. Plus 3.5. I'm going to have money on that game. What else we got? Houston at the Steelers. The Steelers are 3.5. The Texans 0-2. They're kind of in disarray, man. They need to get it together soon. I think Bill O'Brien's job is probably hanging by a thread this year. They need the game badly, but the Steelers, well, they've been up and down. Didn't play great against the Broncos last week. They played well enough to win. Same thing with week 1 against the Giants. I think they should have, easily beaten both of those teams, but their defense is really good. Big Ben's starting to get his feet under him after missing most of last year. 3.5 points. Pittsburgh's the call. Minus 3.5. Titans at the Vikings. The Titans are 2.5 point favorites, or 2-0 against the 0-2 Vikings. Give me a call. Give me a score, Rick, if you're still here. Rick Sherlock. Where are my Viking fans? I got to get Mike Villa into this show one Sunday morning. And, oh, gosh, we had another Vikings fan in here last week. I don't remember who it was now. It's escaping. The name's escaping me. I apologize. If you're here, speak up. Anyway, the Titans have been carried. Ryan Tannehill is playing very well, which I'm shocked at, as I've talked about in my NFL preview show. I'm not a big Ryan Tannehill fan. I think he went on a great run last year, but we've seen those out of quarterbacks like Ryan Tannehill before, and then they fall back to earth. I mean, Trent Dilger comes to mind. Nick Foles a couple of times come to mind. And they won on a last-second field goal last week by Steven Gostkowski, which I sure wish was still kicking for my team, but he's not. So anyway, this game is at the Vikings. The Titans are a 2.5 point favorite. Rick, I got a feeling you're not here. You didn't give me your pick, but I am taking your Vikings today. Plus 2.5 at home. I think they're a really good live underdog there. Home dog. So Kirk Cousins, get it together. Okay, Lions at the Cardinals. Cardinals playing great football. They actually had a great game again last week after beating the 49ers, upsetting the 49ers in week 1. They rolled last week. Lions are a mess. Matt Patricia's job again. We talk about guys on the hot seat. Matt Patricia, who I really want to root for. His job's on the line. They're 0-2. They lost. They got beat badly against the Packers last week. They blew a lead against the Bears in week 1. I don't know. I gotta take the Cardinals here, and there may be some money on this game later. 5.5 points. Cardinals over the Lions. Let's keep it moving here. San Francisco at the Giants. There ought to be an exciting game today with all the injuries on the 49ers, with Jimmy G out, Kittle's out, Nick Bosa's out. Both their running backs are out. Richard Sherman's out. I don't know. The list goes on and on. But the Giants lost really one of their few weapons, really good weapons last week in Saquon Barkley. The 49ers are 4.5 point favorite. They're one of those West Coast teams, again, coming east to play at 1 o'clock. Not a good situation. But all that said, I'm going to take the Giants plus 4.5. I just switched up there, guys. I was going 49ers in this game. And I just kept looking at these names, and I'm thinking, how can the 49ers possibly complete with Mullen as their quarterback, all these guys out, all their weapons are hurt? The Giants got to win some games, right? Giants plus 4.5. Panthers and Chargers, 4:05 today. Panthers, funny. I don't know how to take the Panthers. I love their coach, Matt Rule. I think they made a great hire there, but I think there's some work to be done. Teddy Bridgewater's their quarterback, probably a bridge to maybe Justin Lawrence. Who knows? Panthers are 6.5-point favorite here because the Chargers, again, another team traveling to the East Coast from the West Coast. What's going on this week? Crazy. Justin Aber played really well in that overtime loss to Kansas City last week. Now he's being asked to go on the road. 6.5 points is a lot for a team like the Panthers, but I'm going to lay the 6.5 points here. I just got a feeling Matt Rule's going to get his first win, and it may come in a big way. I'm sure that the Chargers are going to have a hangover from being so close to beating the defending champions last week. It's going to be tough for a rookie quarterback, I think, today to go on the road for his second start. But they're probably going to be a bit of a hangover there. Buccaneers at the Broncos. Buccaneers are 6-point favorites on the road. Brady, chose the Buccaneers probably because they had great defense. They had great depth at wide receiver. And they signed Leonard Fournette actually after he chose to go there. But, that was just icing on the cake. And it seems like things started to get, click a little bit with a pretty big win over Carolina in week 2. But, again, Carolina is not that good, but then neither are the Broncos. Broncos were going to be one of my surprise picks for the year to do well. They've been in 2 games. They've played very well. I believe they covered both games. But they're 0-2, where it matters on the standings. Those point spreads you don't get wins and losses in real life based on point spreads. So I'm going to have to lay the points here on the road, which it's a lot of points on the road, but I'm going to take the Bucs -6 here. Jets at the Colts today at 4:05. Ugh. Jets 0-2, not pretty. Colts are 10.5. Colts have got some weapons for Phillip Rivers, who's again, old, for lack of a better term. He's old. But I think Jonathan Taylor, the rookie running back, is going to just light it up today. So Colts -10.5. That's a possibility for me today as well. Bears at the Falcons. Who cares? Sorry, Bears fans. Sorry, Falcons fans. Falcons are 0-2. They're 3.5-point favorites here. The Bears have not played great, but they're 2-0. As I said, you are what your record says you are. Matt Ryan and the Falcons just never seem to live up to expectations ever since 28-3 at halftime. So you should know what I'm talking about by now. We'll see. I think there's going to be a lot of points. I don't know if there'll be a lot of points scored in this game, but if there are, if the Falcons are going to have more, even without Julian Jones, I think they'll be fine. They got Ridley, the rookie wide receiver. So I think Matty Ice has got more weapons than Trubisky. So let's go with the Falcons over the Lions, 3.5. Boy, there's a lot of games this week. Bengals at Eagles. Both 0-2. Eagles are a 6-point favorite. I'm not sure how they can be a 6-point favorite over anybody. Sorry, Ken Schott, my guest next week or this week on Friday. But I am gonna lay the 6 with the Eagles just because I just can't see the Bengals winning. Joe Burrow has played pretty good his first 2 weeks. First 2 games. I just don't see they can get this done here. I think the Eagles need to break out, and I think they need to have a really good game on both sides of the football, and hopefully they're getting healthier, so I'm going to take them. The Washington football team, the team formerly known as the Redskins, are at the Browns. The Browns are 7. The Footballers crashed back to earth in week 2 after coming back and beating the Eagles in week 1. They had a tough time of it last week in Arizona and got hammered. Um, they are a sizable underdog here, and the Browns have allowed 64 points in the first two games, but I think Cleveland's a far more talented football team. I'm going to lay the 7 points here and take the Browns. And that, we got New Orleans. We got our Monday night matchup, which we already covered. Sorry, we covered our Monday night matchup. That was the Chiefs and the Ravens. So we've covered it all. Like I said, 17, 14, and 1 for the year. We'll see how we do this week. I'll certainly announce my results during the week. I've had a great time talking with you guys today, as always. I do on Sunday mornings. Rick's back. Vikings in an upset. I picked it. If you weren't on, Rick, I got him on your team today, and I think my money will be on them as well. I gotta do a little more research on a couple games. I have 4 games to pick today, and I think there might be a Viking pick in there. I love home dogs, especially home dogs with talent, like the Vikings are, and we know that Vikings have talent, right, Rick? All right, guys. I think that's going to do it for today. Listen, share the video, put up some comments. If you watch this later on, please add comments. Tell me I'm crazy about my picks. Tell me I'm crazy about my take on the Yankees. Tell me I'm crazy about some of my take on the college football situation. We got a lot going on. We don't even talk about the NBA. I don't think I got a ton of NBA fans, but we probably will touch on it when we get to the the finals. Looks like the Lakers will wrap it up pretty quickly, and the Celtics are trying to give the Heat a run. Rick's on his way to breakfast in Perth. Well, while I wrap it up, tell me where you're going to breakfast, Rick. We'll give him a little plug here. And what else we got to talk about? I got Ken Schott on Friday, 8 a.m. Eastern time, live. Ken Schott from the Daily Gazette. We're going to talk about some of the media broadcasting, or the broadcast media. I wanted to get some takes. I know people love to hate on TV announcers, so we're going to have a great conversation about some of the sports media, and we'll take it from there. Twista. I don't know that, Rick, but Rick's on his way to Twista for breakfast. Anyway, there's your shout out. Tell Naomi, my second sponsor. Let's Twist. Don't know it. I'll check it out, though, when I'm up that way again. So anyway, guys, we're going to wrap it up here. It's been a great Sunday morning. I know the weather's great. We're going to get more people and more calls as we go into the fall, and more people are around at 9 a.m. on a Sunday and want to talk football. The old Mickeys. I know what you're talking about now, Rick. Awesome. I think I've heard great things about the place. So, guys, join me Friday. Ken Schott, 8 a.m. Eastern time. You guys have a great Sunday. Enjoy. I hope your team does well today, unless I've got money against them. Then I hope they don't. You guys have a great day. TGI Sports Talk. Out.